Please welcome to the stage our closing keynote speaker, influencer, podcast host, and co-publisher at The Financial Brand, Jim Marous.
Good afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well. It's been a long day, a lot of information. You know, I was asked to do a presentation about financial services, both banking and insurance, but the reality is what I'm going to be discussing today is impacting every single business. Today's presentation is going to make you frightened on what the possibilities are and excited what the opportunities are. The reality is I've been in banking for probably longer than some of you have been alive, since the beginning of my career where I was a banker right out of university. What I have found is our challenges and what we want to achieve have not really changed. We want better customer service. We want better experiences. We want lower costs. We want to reach as many people and businesses as possible with the efficiency that makes it so we can reach out to everybody. What I'm going to be discussing today is more about leadership than anything else. I'll say this more than once. You cannot buy yourself out of a challenge. You can lead yourself into opportunities. At the foundation of everything we're going to discuss today, we're going to be talking about 5 major megatrends that are impacting banking, insurance, and business. Those 5 megatrends will not change over the next several years. They'll be the foundation of everything we need to do. The things we discussed this morning at the opening session can be addressed if we can address these 5 megatrends. You know, at first, the first thing we need to look at, and we talk about it all the time, is working with data, analytics, and insights. It's the foundation of everything. If you don't know how to manage the information you have, you will not make your back office stronger, you'll not be able to innovate, and you will not be able to serve the customer better. But we got to go further. We need to do more than just get more insights. We need to do more than just simply know our customers. We need to democratize these data and insights so that everyone within the organization can benefit from what we're learning. As I said, I've been in banking for well over 40 years. And at many organizations, the data and insights are still being held by a siloed part of the organization that knows everything about every customer. They're developing amazing reports on an ongoing basis that nobody hears about. If you want to know how many customers do I have and what do they look like for a certain product, you can find that out. In fact, if I called Wells Fargo today and said, show me all the things you know about me, it would be astounding to me what they knew about me. The challenge at most financial institutions is you never tell me how much you know about me. So I continually feel I'm just a number. You may put my name at the beginning of an email. You may target me for something, but you know what? We've gotten very smart as consumers. We know it's targeting by name or by segment versus do you really know me? Do you really understand me? And will you be willing to reward me with services and service that responds to my needs, hopefully on a proactive basis? The reality is the ability to collect data is getting better and better. How many of you recently have been astounded by how your phone or something is listening to you all the time because you mentioned something and you say, I was just talking about that. Or, as I got here today, I'm into cycling, and I got an offer for a cycling jersey from Boston. I was in Phoenix last weekend. I got an offer for a cycling jersey from Phoenix. And I regularly get them from Cleveland and Boca Raton. And I'm thinking I don't know where they're getting it. Maybe it's just my activities. But they're trying to hook me to buy something. Listening devices, watching devices, our watches are listening to everything you do. The problem is we don't do a really good job of giving us offers or value transfers that are valuable to us. However, If done well, we already see this with Amazon and other companies, if done well, those proactive abilities to engage are very powerful. What we want, what the consumer wants, are contextual, engaging, and proactive engagements and experiences. I don't necessarily want to know what's in my rearview mirror. I don't want to know what's already happened. I probably know that. I may not really want to know if I have an NSF. What I want you to do is warn me ahead of time on what I should do to protect myself. It works the same in insurance. I want my insurance company to find the best policy for me as opposed to me having to search it because somebody told me there's better things out there. It didn't do any good when my mortgage company knocked on my door after they saw I was going to refinance saying, oh, by the way, we can lower your rate, when they had been at a higher rate than market for the last 7 years with my account. It falls on deaf ears when you tell me later. In fact, it irritates me because I know you can do better. Think about how you look at things as a consumer. How many times do you look at companies and say, I know you can do better. I know you have more data on me. This was not needed. When we're talking about the democratization of data, what we're also doing is we're talking about empowering employees to be better at doing their job. Employees today are frightened about being replaced by digital banking, digital insurance, digital everything. We need to involve them, realize that their engagement with data and insights makes it so that they're more powerful and they can do what they were hired to do, which is helping consumers or customers. A lot of branches, both insurance and banking, are closing down or needing fewer employees. How about if we empower those employees with tools so they can go and do what they do best, reaching out to customers that they knew that they don't see anymore, and telling them what they know about what they can do for them. That's empowerment. That's democratization of data and insights. Overall, Brian Solis said it very well. He's at Salesforce, and he said, it's really about giving data that is no longer siloed, but is available to everyone, including the consumer. A consumer who is empowered to help themselves with financial wellness. That's what we're looking for. The second megatrend is the explosion of hyper-personalization. I already referenced the email that simply has data on it that says, Dear Jim Marous. What's frustrating about me in my business bank account is that they say, Dear Jim Marous, then they offer me services I already have, and if they do better than that and don't offer me services I already have, what they end up doing is at the end they have enough disclaimers. It's more than the copy they had to try to sell me things. Who's the best at this? Amazon's the best at this. They continually monitor everything you're doing and try to be there for you so that you don't want to jump in your car and go to the corner. How many of you buy personal care products now with Amazon as opposed to going to the drugstore? How many of you look at prices when you do that? No. The value transfer of what they provide when I order Advil or a supplement is so great that I'm going, I just don't want to have to think about it. And usually Amazon's going to go, I think it's about time for this, especially the supplements, because they know exactly how many you're going to be taking if you're doing it right. When I go to Amazon, you don't realize this, just like Google, you don't realize how fewer offers they give you than they ever gave you before, because they kind of know you. And what's interesting for me, when I go to Amazon and I look up anything, they kind of know where I'm going to fall. They realize I like buying brand names. I don't mind paying a little bit more for quality. You may not be able to tell it, but they're probably going to make a sale that's black or red, as opposed to green or purple or yellow. And it falls with everything. Oh, and by the way, I may be in Amsterdam like I was last week or week before last, but I'm going to still want it delivered to my door the next day. I don't have to worry about it. I want to be able to call my wife and say, by the way, did the thing I ordered that wasn't that urgent get delivered? It's again about making it so it makes it easier for me. What we're trying to do is save time for the consumer so that they don't have to do as much work. Another example is Netflix, or Hulu in my case. The difference between DirecTV, where you have to actually push what you want to record, and Hulu or Netflix, that actually tells you in advance what you'll probably watch or what you want to watch, is what everybody is measuring things against. And this really escalated during COVID. People said, my gosh, do you watch this? Well, I bet you also watch this, this, and this, because people are talking to each other about what is being recommended by Netflix. Streaming services have all that data digitally that can respond on an instant. So if you look for a movie and you decide, no, I don't really want to watch that, the next one they're going to serve up is going to be just like the movie you looked for. How many of you use ChatGPT? That's pretty cool. That's interesting because it's the highest number percentage-wise that I've seen yet. They came out November 30th, OpenAI came out with ChatGPT and said it's a conversational AI. And you say, well, okay, what's that? And consumers started playing with it. And by playing with it, made it more and more intelligent. What is interesting is the people that I hear complain about the answers they're getting, my response now is, it's you. You didn't ask the right question the way you wanted the answer to be. If you simply say, what's banking going to look like? It's going to give you a pretty rote answer with most likely bullets. If you say, give me an essay about the future of banking and digital transformation, do not use bullets, and give me references and make it in a journal-type article of 1,500 to 2,000 words, it gets really good. I write articles every Sunday. It is already helping me. It's not writing my articles, won't give it that much power, but it helps me structure what I want to do. And it also checks me to say, did I remember everything I wanted to say when I engaged with it? My most recent article, which was over a week ago now, I wanted quotes in each section of the 5 megatrends. In fact, you're seeing the quotes. I simply said, give me a quote about digital transformation. Give me a quote about the democratization of data. Give me a quote about personalization. And they gave me really good quotes. And they got a little bit more specific. Give me a quote from somebody at SAP. You'll see that in a little bit. They did a really good job. What's interesting is what it's doing for me is it gives me an assist. It also is going to change the way we communicate with customers. Because a customer can say, I have a problem, and instead of getting a 1-word or 2-word answer with a chatbot, it can actually send you to content within your site that it probably created to address this issue. We do know it can go wrong. Microsoft had a little challenge where they put a little bit too much data in. They probably introduced their Bing a little bit too early. They didn't test it quite as much as they probably should have. And ChatGPT started sounding more like a person on social media than it did a fact-finding tour. And it got a little bitter on against a couple of customers or a couple of people doing searches. So it still needs human monetization. It still needs humans to tell it what to do. But it can save time and money. You know, as Raja Rajamanir at MasterCard said, you know, it's the quantum marketing, marketers today, it's hard to get a grasp on the amount of personalization that customers and consumers want in the delegation and the utilization of their services. They want personalized experiences, and they actually want engagement that's going to make it so that it makes their life easier and thinks on their behalf. The tools are there. It's a matter managing it. We want to move from, as I've referenced, from transactions to embedded experiences. What I mean by that is we all talk about customer experience. Customer experience is really nothing much more than satisfaction today. A customer experience that's not good at a restaurant is there was a rat on the floor or it wasn't clean. What every type of organization, banking, insurance, restaurants, car companies want is engagement. They want you to continue to engage. They want an experience that's going to be an over-the-top experience where the engagement level is strong. You usually have a good recommendation for a restaurant because the engagement that you had there, more than just the food. We look at the leaders in the tech industry. We see players like Uber, Apple Pay, Rocket Mortgage, Acorns, Zoom. It's about engagement. Nobody even heard of Zoom before COVID. Then immediately took off. Why? It was easy, it was simple, and it helped the engagement process. How many of you have an Apple credit card? You know, an Apple credit card takes 4 screens, to open the credit card. It takes around 3.5 to 4 minutes. It takes less than 16 touches of your phone, which is less than the number of digits in your credit card number. That's not just a great experience, but what it does is it makes it so you don't want to disengage. Why? Because it's there before you know it. And for those of you who got the Apple card, at the end it says, do you want a metal card? And you go, we'll never use it, but I want to see what this looks like. And it arrives in 2 days. And then you use it and you realize that to validate or verify the card, you simply put the card against the carrier, and it's against your phone, and it's verified, as opposed to phoning. The new definition of convenience is speed, simplicity, and empathy. Do I really feel like you're working on my behalf? Do I really believe that you have my best interest in mind as opposed to your organization's best interest? Are you looking out for my well-being? Are you looking out for my health? Are you looking out for the minutes that are so important to me during the day? And if you are, then you're convenient. Location is no longer the deal breaker, because it may be this close, and that's closer in the corner. Then I need to be fast and simple. But most importantly, I need to feel the empathy. We have new ways to engage and to build experiences and engagement that we've never had before. We have the ability to use AI, AR, and MR to make it so that experiences are over the top, the wow moment. And you get engagement. You start to make the decision live on, do you want to wear the black tennis shoes or red tennis shoes today? Or do you want to buy the red tennis shoes? But it's not just retail. You can do this in insurance. You can do it in banking. You can do it in any type of industry. Take what you know, build experiences and engagement around it, and get people to interact with you more often. The consumer wants to interact with you less. Give them a reason to interact with you more. The only time I hear from my insurance agent is when it's renewal date or when I have a loss. If my only experience is that, you may keep my account longer, but you maybe fail on the one day that I need you the most. Wouldn't it be better if you continually engaged with me and said, have you looked at this to insure? Because you don't want that situation to be that at the end of the day, you didn't insure something you should have insured because nobody really reminded you should do that. We found that out last year, my wife and I, with water damage. We found out there's a big difference between the insurability of an event or a water process. The drip, drip, drip from the roof is not insured, the damage. If it came through the window from a hurricane, it would have been insured. That's a $50,000 mistake. Would have been nice to know it. You know, when you get down to it, what it is you really want to make it so that the digital experience is still humanized. That makes you want to engage. I don't know how many of you have been to a Capital One cafe, but it's really interesting how engaging it is and how they do the basics really well, but they do the over-the-top things even better. It really does draw you in. They're building one cafe in every single major market, but not building branches, as opposed to Chase Bank that's building branches everywhere. I don't need branches, but when I go, I want it to be a good experience. I want engagement. These don't have lines of tellers. They have 2 or 3 people at most ready to do your banking. But they also have business offices, computer stations, coffee shop, some good pastry, and a heck of a big platform. It's doing well for them. By the way, these cafes are not profitable on a one-to-one basis, but they're cross-selling the heck out of current credit card customers that previously had no branches to go to or engage with. It's a different experience. It's moving from digital to human. You know, we also are seeing more and more the importance of back office automation. We've always wanted to save money, but the problem is we forgot about the fact that to make a really exceptional top-of-glass experience, you need really, really, really good back office automation. And as I work with financial institutions, the biggest challenge organizations have in making it so you have the over-the-top great experience is bad back office processes, many of which we hang on to forever. How many of you have been in your industry, banking or insurance, for more than 10 years? Your legacy. You're sometimes part of the problem. At some point, you've probably said, we don't do it that way. Or, we've always done it this way. Both are the same thing, different sides of the coin. But the reality is, when I work with financial institutions, both banks and insurance companies, and say you have to speed up the process, and I tell them about a third-party provider that can help them speed up the process, they may hire them, they may be promised what they're going to be able to accomplish, and when they come in, the first thing they do is unwind some of the benefits the company can bring, because they say, you know, in a banking world, they'll say, by the way, we still want to start with the driver's license. Add 5 minutes. It's the first thing I ask. I tell companies that sell service, I say, before you sign that deal, ask them, are you going to be willing to let go of this process? Because if they're willing to let go of that and find a better way through risk and everything else you have to manage, the rest of it's going to be easy. We are stuck in a world of legacy thinking and legacy culture. I wasn't sure if I was going to do this because this is International Women's Day, and maybe it works even better now, but the problem is, at many organizations, they're being led by a group of white men that were together doing this business 30 years ago and really haven't made big errors. In fact, they've done quite well. And because they haven't tremendously expanded their little circle of friends, and because they've never had a bad appointment or a bad quarter or a bad season, bad year, they continue to do things the way they've always done them because they're risk adverse. In financial services, we're all risk adverse. And I would recommend that instead of avoiding risk, we should manage risks. We sometimes put ourselves in a hole by saying we don't want any risk, as opposed to finding a way to automate things. And I don't mean going from paper to PDFs or to something electronic. It means completely rethinking the process in the back office. Let me give you an example. We talked a little bit earlier about ordering something from Amazon and having it delivered, in many cases now, same day, especially personal care products. You think, man, these big distribution centers are getting more and more product in them, and they're getting it here faster and faster. Amazon does not stock what you're ordering today. They stocked a number of products knowing how many were going to be ordered. They're getting to the point where their distribution network between the robotics, their truck system, their producers, their packagers, are right now putting together and putting into the warehouse what you're going to order next week. Not having it in stock for 30 days. It's all about speed. This isn't actually happening today. But at some point, we're going to have drone deliveries. And imagine a time where data, AI, open systems, platforms, make it so that Amazon delivers something to your house as you're looking at your computer saying, you know what, I think I need this. You get a knock on the door or a bell ring or some kind of notification that says, by the way, what you're looking at right now is already at your house. They're getting close. It saves money, retains customers, and makes it so the value transfer is amazing. Automation is not about replacing humans. It's about augmenting humans, giving them the tools to better be able to do their jobs. I'll put an extra asterisk on that, not to add anything from a good quote that was done here. But the reality is what we're trying to do is keep our employees. If employees do not feel like they're part of the solution, they will leave or they'll feel like they've been ignored. When I work with organizations, one of my first questions is, how do you let employees know of a major change in digital engagement? Because if you don't tell them this, they will undermine your solutions, not maliciously, but out of survival. The fifth major megatrend is the emergence of platforms that is reshaping the future. We're already seeing this. We're seeing that platforms, super apps, are replacing siloed businesses that have done things the same forever. You know, one of the best examples of a great platform is Uber. You know, how many of you have done what I did 2 weeks ago, which is get in a taxi cab and then get out of the taxi cab and forget to pay? Because you're not used to paying an embedded experience. What's interesting about Uber is they build loyalty at every step of the way. Many of you started using Uber because somebody sent you a $5 coupon to try it. And then you sent it to others for them to try it. Uber owns 79% of the US car sharing network. They have completely changed transportation. And they're starting to make people think about the fact that, do I really need a car in my garage if I can share the neighbor's car with the rest of the neighbors? Their loyalty process then goes into how well you can use their app and the rewards you get for using their app and what you can get while from the standpoint of upgrades to cars based on using their app. They also brought others into that ecosystem like American Express. Every month I get $15 in American Express points to use Uber. Now, Uber doesn't stop there. They also do it for their drivers. They reward their drivers by giving them special deals on how to get their car serviced. They also make sure they all open up Uber bank accounts. They get insurance services at discount. And they also have a point system for how well they do from their points. That's why every Uber driver says, remember to give me a good review. That's also why I asked the driver I had last week who had a 4.99, I said, who did it to you? Do you remember? Who's that one person who messed up your 5 points? She goes, I remember vividly. She goes, more than one person. She goes, they had alcohol, which I figured that was part of the deal, and we didn't quite agree on where I was going to take them. You know, when we talk about platforms, we're not only talking about Uber, we're talking about banking, we're talking about insurance. We're talking about the ability to go from a banking or insurance transaction to content within the site and the ability to bring outside organizations within your platform to provide better services. I believe that in my lifetime, in fact, I believe it's going to be in the next 5 to 7 years, I'm going to be able to connect my watch tracking to my doctor's visits, to my insurance payments, to my banking rewards. Done another way, I believe my house is going to have enough monitors that I'll get insurance based on everything I do in a normal day. And again, the rewards will be paid through my bank account. Complete business models are changing based on open platforms, based on open banking, based on AI, based on super apps, as we bring other transactions, other engagements into it. You're going to get to the point, if you're not already, where you're going to be able to go up to a gas station. The gas station is going to recognize you. You just pump your gas and leave. It's already monitored. That's embedded services. That's banking as a service. That's insurance as a service. You don't need to make money on your individual products if other players want a touch of your customers. Great experience I had. I'm lucky enough to be able to engage with bankers and financial services executives every week with my podcast, Banking Transformed. And in this experience, I sometimes interview just organizations that are much smaller than I normally would interview that astound me with their capabilities. I was mentioning the back of the room before my presentation, a company called Coastal Community Bank in Everton, Washington. $3 billion bank, has grown, doubled in size over the last 3 years. They have an open banking platform. Part of their open banking relationships is with a company called One. They provide the back office banking for this platform called One. 6 months ago, One was purchased by a small company, you may have heard of them, Walmart, to provide the service for their banking services. Walmart serves 300 million customers a year, with many more transactions than that. Imagine the relationship, how it can grow from a $3 billion financial institution in Everett, Washington, that provides the banking services, the back office, for possibly 300 million consumers of Walmart. Now take that step further with their innovation and their way of looking at digital services. They also have a metaverse banking platform. You can go to their metaverse bank, and what they use that for is not just to get good press, which they've gotten. They do it to test different digital services to see how people interact, see how important content is, see how important it is where a customer goes throughout the branch to not only build their own branches, but to build better digital engagements. My lead behind on that is if you have leadership that can embrace change, take risks, and disrupt themselves, it doesn't matter how big or small you are. The winners are not going to be determined by the size, but by the leadership. What is interesting is the future of platforms are overtaking how important products are. Experiences are taking over where transactions were. And tribes or groups of people, subsegments, are taking over where customers were. I was at WeBank in Shenzhen, China, the very first month of 2020, just when things were starting to pick up in the COVID front. And I visited WeBank, and WeBank serves, I think it's about 100 million customers. I went into their control center. The control center is about the size of maybe 4 tables, the length back to the room, very small conference room, frosted glass. They have all this data on their board showing how many transactions are going on. Pretty much a payments, small dollar payments company, but the biggest digital bank in the world. And I asked them, I said, okay, innovation-wise, how fast do you do innovation? They say we went, and it was immediate. We go from ideation to implementation in 14 days. We're trying to get it down to 10. I challenge each one of you to say, how quickly does an innovation ever take hold in your organization? What's even more interesting, you can see 4 parallel platforms, cloud platforms at WeBank. 2 of them are actual customer platforms. 2 of them are test platforms with the customer base is there. And I said, well, okay, so what do you do? He goes, well, let's open the glass. And they turned on the glass, and the glass went clear. And there were about 5 people in a room that could handle probably 105. They said, these are people that are customer care people that are answering customer problems. They also are programmers. They can solve them on the site. And we test them on our parallel cloud. If it doesn't work, we just unwind the test. That's the power of the cloud. That's the power of leadership. That's the power of data insights. He said, how much do you make on every customer? He goes, sometimes we don't make money on a per customer basis, but we make about $15 per customer. But when you look at the volume, they do pretty well. Most traditional financial institutions would not take any customer that much. There's a lot of underserved customers we're talking about. To get where we need to go, we need to collaborate. We need to collaborate with third-party providers that will allow us the ability to bring products with speed and scale to the marketplace. We need to think differently. We need to look at time frames that are faster than ever before. Time is our friend, but it's also our enemy. We can no longer look at an annual plan and say, we're going to implement this by December of 2023. No, we're going to implement this by the end of May of 2023. We need to build this in everybody's mind. When COVID took place, Each financial institution, both insurance and banking, had a lot of things we had to do on the spur of the moment without everybody in the same room. And we did it. We need to keep the pressure on, but we need third-party collaborations because most of us, if not all of us, don't have the time to do it ourselves. We need to have people we can depend on, such as SAP, where we can hand off the football or kick the football, depends on which sport you like, and know that they're going to go down the field on your behalf and do things the way you would like to do. We heard from some leaders this morning. They showed you how easy it can be done and how important a good collaboration is. It's only going to work if you can do it at time and speed. Financial services have never moved this fast, and they'll never move this slowly again. The customer wants you to know them, understand them, and reward them. This will require the integration of data, insights, analytics, and digitalization of engagements using new technology and with the power of leadership that will embrace a paradigm shift. We need to get rid of legacy cultures. The question is, are you ready to embrace change? Are you ready to take risks? Are you ready to engage and disrupt yourself? The question is, are you ready for a future that has never been more exciting than it is today? And since I'm with both banking and insurance companies, are you ready for financial services transformed? Thank you.